Hello guys, here's Blogan. In today's lesson I'm going to introduce you to the concept of escape sequences and show you how to use them. In the previous lesson we had a problem. We learned how to output text, but all we can do so far is output text in one line. Today we'll learn how to display text in several lines and more. Let's get started. What is escape sequence? Escape sequence is a sequence of the backslash symbol and a letter or number. There aren't many of them in modern C++. What are they needed for? There are characters on the keyboard that cannot be displayed on the screen, such as white space, tab, enter. When you write text, you use them, and they format the text, moving the cursor one unit to the right, or one tab page to the right, or to the next line. But they are part of the text, and when you display text on the screen, you can insert them into it. I'll show you how to do it, but first I'll show you a table of all escape sequences, and we'll analyze them one by one. Right now, I'm on the CPP reference website. This is almost the official documentation of the C++ language. Here you will probably find everything you can about C++. For beginners, I don't recommend learning C++ from this side because most of the constructs that you'll learn in my course are endowed with a huge number of details, which are often related to other constructs. I recommend that you look for constructions on this side after you've looked at them in other sources, such as my tutorials. I'll show you this site often because it's difficult to find more detailed information than what is here. And on this side, there's an article about escape sequences. It says, escape sequences are used to represent certain special characters within string literals and character literals. We don't know what literals are yet, but we'll definitely look at them soon in a separate lesson. For now, consider that these are special characters that can be written in double quotes, that is, in the text. I won't go through everything in this table because there are things here that will be added only in C++23. This is, if anything, a language update that hasn't yet been released. My course covers C++20, so I'll skip those sequences. Also, I won't talk about sequences that are associated with the octal and hexadecimal number systems, that is, these. There will be a separate lesson about number systems where I'll return to them. Now, let's not bother our heads. Well, I also won't talk about conditional escape sequence because most programmers don't use them or even come across them. The first escape sequence we see is single quote. This escape sequence is designed to display a single quote on the screen. Why can't we just display it on the screen? Let's try. I'm going to write a text in which I want to put this word in single quotes. We launch the program, it works. And if instead of a single quote we use an escape sequence, then we'll see the same output. And why is it needed then? It's all about character literals. It's used there. In the lesson about literals, I'll definitely remember it and tell you about it. For now, just know that in double quotes, you can output a single quote either simply or with a backslash. But here the situation is different. You can't just print a double quote on the screen. The fact is that the compiler recognizes this character as the beginning or end of the text. If you write like this, the compiler will think that this is the beginning of the text and this is the end. Because of this, it considers everything that is written next to be a mistake. Therefore, it needs to manually indicate that this quote is another character that is included in the text that you want to display. This is what this escape sequence is used for. You can use it anywhere in the text and in any quantity. The main thing is that the sequence mustn't lie outside the boundaries of the text itself. This question mark escape sequence is already obsolete. It was needed to work with trigraphs. These are all things you don't need to know. But if you want to read about them, just Google C++ trigraphs and you'll see this sequence used. Don't think that it's designed to display a question mark. It calmly can be displayed without backslash. Let's move on. You might be wondering, if a backslash is used in every escape sequence, what happens if I go to display that backslash by itself? It won't just display it for you. The Visual Studio compiler will react differently to its use. Here, if you want to output only this, the compiler will throw an error because it sees the opening double quote, but doesn't see the closing one because this quote has become part of the escape sequence. If I write any text in a row with a backslash, then the symbol next to it will be combined with it, and the compiler will consider this combination as an escape sequence. If such escape sequence doesn't exist, it will warn you about it. If it exists, then obviously it will work, but in any case you won't see your backslash on the screen. Salvation is the escape sequence double backslash. Just put another backslash next to it and the compiler will think that this is an escape sequence which purpose is to print one backslash onto the screen. For every backslash you want to display, you need to place another one next to it. Audible bell is another escape sequence from the past. With this symbol you could force it to play a sound. Here's an explanation of this symbol from a person with the nickname rBurtik from Stack Overflow website. Back in the dark ages, when ASCII was codified out of the ashes of Godot, a terminal was a large chunk of iron that hammered ink into paper, often included a paper tape, punch, and reader, and interpreted keystrokes to generate an asynchronous serial signal at a few hundred baud with spinning wheels and relays, in case an operator fell asleep to the soothing noises of it hammering out text. It had an actual bell it could ring. The character \A in a C language character rang the bell when received. As terminals became smaller and implemented with few or no moving parts, the physical bell was replaced by beeper. Exactly what your terminal emulator, aka a console window in Windows, does when it's asked to display that control character isn't well standardized today. It ought to make a noise or flash the window, but your mileage will vary. Now, when writing it, you'll hear the system sound of your operating system. Boredom from the past. We saw, we forgot, we move on. Backspace. This escape sequence moves the output cursor back one position. Let me explain to you what an output cursor is. From the very beginning, when you start the program, your output cursor is located in the top left. This is the point where the next character will be drawn. As soon as it's drawn, the cursor will move to the right. And so, character by character, you have text displayed on the screen. With this sequence, you can move the cursor back one position. Where can it be useful? Well, for example, you want to write the text "enter your money" and add these symbols to show the user where his number will be written. But the thing is that the place where the user starts entering his number will be here, not here. In order for him to enter numbers in this place, we need to move the cursor 3 positions to the left after displaying these characters. To do this, we can write the sequence 3 times. Since you don't yet know how to write code that allows the user to enter information from the keyboard, I'll leave the sequence for a later lesson. Form feed, new page. This is another old escape sequence. It was used in terminals where the output was not to the screen but to the printer. This sequence moved the output cursor to the next page for the printer. In the modern world, it's not needed, so let's move on. And here's the most popular escape sequence. It moves the output cursor to a new line. Therefore, we'll use it constantly. Here's an example. In the previous lesson, you learned how to display text, but since the cursor never moved to a new line, the entire text was displayed on one line. Of course, if this line is too long and goes beyond the boundaries of the console, the text will move to a new line, although in fact it's still one line of text. Let me write 3 commands to display text on the screen. For example, I want to draw a rectangle. If I write it like this, we'll see one long line, not a rectangle. But if you add \n at the end, then after each line is printed, the cursor will move to a new line. Don't forget that you can write as many of these sequences as you want and put them whatever you want. The main thing is to understand how they work. You may have heard of the endline or endl construct. This is a manipulator that does almost the same thing as \n, but there is a difference between them. I'll try not to use it until I talk about it, since this is such a concept as a manipulator in C++. Wait for the detailed explanation in the lesson, which will be named that. It won't be very soon. Trust me. When you write text and press the Enter key, this particular character is inserted into the text. Of course you don't see it, but thanks to it the cursor moves to the next line. Carriage return. This sequence does the same thing as \B, but returns the cursor not one position back, but to the beginning of the given line. That's the whole difference. If you find it useful in any way, use it. I never needed it, so I won't use it throughout the course. Next, we need to explain the following. When you write text in any document, the positions for characters are organized into groups. Each group has the same number of spaces for characters horizontally. Each such group is called tab. You have a tab key on your keyboard. If you press it while writing text, you will see that your cursor will move to the next group of characters. If I open a notepad and write exactly one character in it, then press tab and repeat this several times, then you'll see that these groups of characters have this same distance. If in the next line, instead of one character, I write several, then you'll see that this key moves the cursor to exactly the same place as before. So, \T is the symbol that moves the cursor to the next tab. We'll use it when we work on aligning numbers in tables in future lessons. Therefore, I'll return to this sequence later. And the last escape sequence for today is vertical tab. It's also outdated. Here's an explanation from a person with the nickname Bill Thor from the same Stack Overflow site. Vertical tab was used to speed up printer vertical movement. Some printers use special tab belts with various tab spots. This helped align content on forms. Vertical tab to header space, fill in header, vertical tab to body area, fill in lines, vertical tab to form footer. Generally, it was coded in the program as a character constant. That's why we don't need it either. The most important escape sequence that we will need are double quote, \, new line and horizontal tab. And that's the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, you can support me by liking this video, writing a comment under it, subscribing to the channel, donating using the link in the video description, or becoming a sponsor of my channel. All these things popularize my channel and motivate me to continue recording lessons for you. Goodbye.